This is the fourth time I have tried to record this intro because I have had 2 coffees today and I'm absolutely buzzing and can't get all the words out fast enough. But welcome to episode 16 of Fucked If I Know the podcast, and thank you again for joining me. I want to kick off the podcast with reading a little review over on iTunes from Debrick Ashen. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but they have said, loved hearing about the journey and positive energy you bring to these. The honesty and authenticity is awesome. I never believed in being mindful and loving what you do, but this podcast really helped me think about small changes that I could make and also what my side hustle could be. Love that. Thank you so much for listening and for leaving a beautiful review. I hope you're listening to this podcast now and getting a little kick out of that. Fuck, I can't even bloody speak today, guys. Anyway, thank you so much for your beautiful review and for listening, and I hope that this podcast continues to inspire you. So today we are talking all about perfectionism. So I think perfectionism is a crock of shit. To be completely honest, I think it's a word that we use as a procrastination tool to hold us back from doing things. It's a lot easier to say, I'm a perfectionist, that's why I'll never start, instead of saying, actually, I'm really scared of failing and that's what's holding me back. So I've never really believed in the term perfectionism, and people saying, oh, my biggest weakness is that I'm a perfectionist. I just think that really it's just a procrastination tool. It stops us from actually going out and living our dream lives, and it also stops us from maybe admitting like a deeper problem or a deeper block that we have. It's just so much easier to slap the word perfectionism on because it sounds a bit sexy, doesn't it? Like we're always striving for perfectionism. We're always striving to be the best of the best. So it's a bit of a sexy word to kind of like glamour over an underlying issue. So when I'm working with my one-on-one coaching students, if this ever comes up and they're saying to me, oh, Gabby, I'm actually a perfectionist, that's why I can't start, we go down something known as the why hole. So the why hole is basically 7 steps of why and getting to the root cause of what perfectionism actually means. So for example, I could say, I really want to start a business, but I can't because I'm a perfectionist. I'm like, okay, why is it so important for you to be a perfectionist? And I would say, well, it's important for me to be a perfectionist because I like to get things right. Okay, why is it important for you to get things right? It's important for me to get things right because I feel like I've never been able to, and so I hold myself to this ridiculous standard. Why is it so important that you hold yourself to this ridiculous standard? Because that was just expected of me when I was a child, and I feel like I can't let my parents down if I do that. So you can see how as you start to get deeper and deeper and deeper, you're going to hit new layers, like an onion, new layers of your kind of your resistance and your blocks, and you'll actually get to a root cause of, it's probably not perfectionism, but it's something else. A lot of the time it's a fear of not being good enough. It can be wanting to impress people, or a lot of it stems back to our childhood. God bless our parents. They did the best that they could with what they've got, and if you're a parent, I'm sure you're doing the best that you can with what you've got, but at the end of the day, we're all fucking human and we fuck up. But a lot of the time you can trace this back to something when you were younger, something that happened, or not even a specific thing, but maybe you were the child in the family that, maybe you're the eldest, so you were held to a higher standard. Or maybe you were the middle child and you felt like you couldn't ever do enough to kind of match your younger or older sibling or whatever. Everyone's is going to be so fucking different. And this is why the why hole is such a powerful tool in figuring out what actually is the deal. Because it's probably not perfectionism. You probably really don't care if it's not perfect. And you know as well by this point that nothing is ever perfect. Nothing in this world is perfect. So it is definitely a procrastination tool. It holds you back from living your fucking greatest life. So say you go down the why hole and you get to this root cause, and you want to do this 7 times, guys. So you keep going, why is it important to me? Why is it important to me? Good to journal it out. Or sometimes I find I get my own way when I'm journaling, or my hand can't write as fast as what my brain is going at. My brain is, you know what I mean? So I'll either type it out on the computer, or I'll bounce off somebody else and ask them to ask me the question. Or I'll record a little voice note to myself and just literally word vomit until I get to the root cause of a problem. And you can use this for a bunch of stuff too. So if you look at, why am I procrastinating, or why do I feel like I'm not good enough, or why don't I want to exercise? Why don't I want to eat well? Why don't I want to take a leap in this relationship? You can use it for fucking everything, the why hole. So you have to go down at least 7 times for you to get to the root cause of what's holding you back, essentially. So say you get to this root cause and you're like, shit, okay, actually, it's not perfectionism. It's I really sought out affection, or I really sought out acceptance from my parents. Maybe that's something that comes up. What do we now do with this information? What do we do with it? That's a $1 million question. Now, it is always really helpful to have a coach work you through this stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do self-coaching as well once you know the tools. So you can really sit with that and journal on it and write down some examples of maybe what made you feel underappreciated, maybe what made you feel less accepted, whose attention did you seek most for your mother or your father or your sisters or your brothers or whoever was a leading figure in your life. Whose acceptance did you crave the most? Whose attention did you crave the most? And just start to identify ways that you feel like you were lacking in there. And there's a couple of things that you can do. You can just literally prompt yourself in journaling and start to write all this stuff down and kind of self-soothe and self-parent and go, yes, mum wasn't there, or mum didn't accept me, or mum didn't give me enough attention when I was younger, but I accept that she's a human and I forgive her. Now, obviously, you can get into some really touchy stuff with this. So I just want you to be, self-aware. And if it's something you need to work through with a therapist or a counselor or a coach with, then definitely do that. But if it's not something too heavy and you feel confident and comfortable enough to work on this on your own, and you're ready to forgive people around you, then this is such a fucking powerful tool and something that's really going to liberate you more than you realize it will. So when it comes to forgiveness, a lot of people get hung up in this. Well, if I forgive them, it means that it validates what they did. And that's not the case. It's you wanting to get on with your fucking life and you wanting to get past this whole perfectionism band-aid and get to the root cause of something and start to fucking make changes in your life rather than sitting in, this old story that you probably didn't even realize because it was quite a subconscious story, and maybe it's now just been brought to the forefront. You're like, holy shit, I didn't realize that was even a thing. But once you've got this information, as I said, you can start to self-soothe, you can forgive, you can release. And if you're really feeling game and you have a relationship with the person who's maybe caused you a bit of pain or whatever, and you feel like you could be in a position to write them a letter and have a really frank conversation with them, it can be quite healing for you too. Or when it comes to forgiveness, you don't even need to tell the person that you're forgiving them. It's something that is done internally. It's something that you are choosing to do. And that's why forgiveness isn't about validating what they did, but releasing it from yourself so that you can fucking get on with your life. So never think that forgiveness is a weakness thing. It's you choosing not to sit in the story anymore and wanting to just move on and just fucking get on with it, right? Like my mum and I have a really, really close relationship, but we had a very interesting upbringing. Like my mum, who I'm sure is fine with me sharing this because she's very open about it, was a drug addict when I was younger. And we went through a whole process of that in our childhood of mum going through this and getting clean and all that kind of stuff. And we were exposed to a lot of that. And you've had to have a really frank and open conversation with my mum only in the last year of, me being angry and upset about that and letting my inner child heal from that and being able to hold space for her and her hold space for me where we can kind of get this information out. But that's taken a really fucking long time, guys. So, if you've had something pretty hectic happen with your family and you have a relationship or, family or friends, you have a relationship where you're able to connect with them on this level and have this conversation, then it's a really amazing opportunity and something really powerful to do. But as I said, you don't have to communicate this to the person. You might not even be able to communicate it to the person, but if you can begin to release that from yourself, you're going to be able to unblock so many channels of energy and watch all these other facets of your life start to open up simply because you've released this energetic block. It may not feel like a lot at the time. You'll be like, oh, what's the big deal? I've identified this block and I've forgiven them either on paper or in person. I'm sure that that's not going to have a huge impact. And while you may not notice it straight away, you're literally starting to release this energetic block within your body, actually physically in your body and in your subconscious. And you'll start to just notice, maybe not straight away or maybe in hindsight, how you're more opportunistic, how you go for things more without overthinking them, how you stop using the word perfectionism or using it as an excuse. But it's really hard to see it when you're in it. So it may be more of a hindsight thing, in 6 months after you do this healing process, you look back and go, fuck, I've actually gotten a lot done or accomplished a lot of things that I would usually pawn off on the whole perfectionism thing. And that's really fucking powerful. So it's really up to us to do this inner work, and it's up to you if something is a priority for you. You want to sign up for a course, you want to invest in something, you want to take a leap in a relationship, move overseas or whatever it is, you want to start a photography business. This is where this was prompted from, somebody wanting to start a photography business but worried about perfectionism getting in the way. If it's a priority for you, if it's something that you really want to do, then you'll do the work. You'll go down the why hole. You'll figure this shit out. And it's fucking uncomfortable. It's not an enjoyable experience. I'm not going to tell you that it is, because that would be a straight up fucking lie. Everyone's talking about personal development work and be like, oh, it's so wonderful and magical. It's like, oh yeah, it is, but it's also a fucking nightmare. Actually working through this shit is really heavy and not a vibe. But when we get to work through it, we're able to come out the other side and become stronger, fucking more powerful people than we were prior to working through this shit. So remember that this is always going to feel a little bit icky and a bit not an enjoyable experience. Not gonna lie to you, it's gonna be pretty shit, but the person that you're gonna be on the other side of this is so fucking worth it. So if you are a perfectionist or you're a self-titled perfectionist and you're letting perfectionism get in the way of you fucking living your dream life, then I want you to go down the why is this important hole. Just keep going down the hole until you find the root cause of this problem. Once you've hit the root cause, you can ask your intuition, and if you're not sure what intuition is or how you connect with it, there's a podcast episode on this. I can't remember which one, but there's a podcast on this on how you can connect with your intuition, and just ask your intuition what it needs for you to release this or to work through it. And maybe it's having a conversation with someone. Maybe it's simply forgiving them. Maybe it's writing a letter to them and burning it. Maybe it could be anything, right? So you just need to trust into your intuition and lean into it and decide what's the right course of action for you so you can start working through this perfectionism thing. This is also really relevant if you don't use the word perfectionism, but you use something else like I'm a procrastinator or I'm lazy or I'm just not very passionate or whatever. You can use the why is this important to me hole and start to dive through there and find root causes of a lot of problems that are blocking you from bringing in the most fucking magic in your life, essentially. So short and sweet podcast for you there, guys, but I hope it helps get some clarity for those of you who are feeling like that's getting in the way or that's a block for you. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram, or if you're struggling with the why is this important hole, please do shoot me a message. I'll chuck you a little voicey on Instagram and we can kind of work through that together. But if you're also interested in working one-on-one with me, I've got some availabilities for one-on-one clients. So I don't know if you guys knew that or not, that I'm a coach. And I work with predominantly women, mainly women working through life and business coaching. So if you're interested in that, just shoot me again a message on Instagram or an email, and I'd love to talk to you about how we can help you work through these blocks together and start to manifest the life of your motherfucking dreams. So thank you so much for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to tag me in your stories or chuck a review over on iTunes, and I'll speak to you again soon.